Hello, my name is Katherine. My mother, Agatha Breidenbach, emigrated from Ostdorf, Germany in 1852 at the age of 5. Her family settled on the Breidenbach farm here in Eagle. My mother met Henry Schmidt and fell in love. When they married, they moved to western Wisconsin in Monroe County, which is where I was born, in 1872. On a visit with the Breidenbach relatives back on the farm here in Eagle, I fell in love with Nathaniel Whettam. We married, and I moved back to Eagle in 1895. Nate found work managing the pickle factory for Mr. Van Holten. All summer long, the farmers and their families would gather their cucumbers to take to the pickle factory. My Nate, Joe Studi, and Picklejack Agathon dumped the cukes into a huge sorting machine. Then they were moved to huge vats standing 15 feet high and 20 feet around. They were filled with water, salt, brine, and dill. After a time, the pickles were taken out with giant scoops and stored in barrels. In the late fall, the barrels of pickles were loaded onto the train that went right past the building. From here, they were taken by railroad into Milwaukee and other cities. We bought a large home across from Pearden's garage. We were blessed with one son, Edmund, in 1905. We rented out rooms in our home, 4 bedrooms upstairs and 2 downstairs. Nate and I chose the one closest to the kitchen. I seemed to be busy in that kitchen all day, preparing meals for the boarders as well as the tramps who hopped off the trains, knowing they'd get a free hot meal from me. Eagle was a bustling town then, and our boarding house was a good place for gentlemen and women to take up residence. I remember Dr. Smurl lived with us before eventually renting a room above Creston's grocery store. Jim Crawley was a respected and retired gentleman who joined us for a while. Miss Matzik, a school teacher, lived with us too. I recall she once made a valentine for me. I thought that was kind of her, but my granddaughter, Sally, who lived with us, was afraid of her. She claimed that Miss Matzik made faces at her behind my back. Silly girl. Dick Gibson was another boarder. He worked at the grain mill in town. Fred Smith, who worked across the street at Pearden's garage, lived with us for a while. We also had another school teacher from North Prairie, but she went home on the weekends. Mr. Clody furnished us with extra beds for prisoners from the Milwaukee jail who worked on farms in the area. One particular fellow was a talented artist. I gave him handkerchiefs to paint on. I recall one in particular. It was a beautiful eagle. Once my granddaughter Sally was stressing over an art contest assignment. He offered to do the work for her, but she shook her head no. I think she may have had second thoughts, though, when she didn't win. Perhaps she should have taken him up on that offer. When times were tight, I went to work for Dr. Fitzgerald. I visited shut-ins and some of his homebound patients. In those days, mothers were confined to bed rest for 10 days after delivering their babies. I helped out doing whatever kind of home care they needed. The hospital was used from 1895 to 1953. Dr. Fitzgerald's office was on the main floor. Surgery and the recovery rooms were on the second floor. In 1912, Dr. Frederick Schmidt joined the practice. He was our little Sally's godfather. He practiced for 35 years until his death in 1946. My granddaughter Sally was such a help to me, but she was afraid to walk past the jail because the front door was often left wide open. One frequent guest of the jail was Twink Beelin, the owner of the blacksmith shop. When the police officer found him after a night on the town, he was escorted to his trailer down the road from St. Teresa's Church or to a waiting jail cell. I guess Sally took the long way rather than risk running into anyone who might be sleeping one off in the jail. I remember how important it was to hear from our family and friends from afar. John Schmidt would drop off the mail at the train station every morning and return to pick up the deliveries in the afternoon. Seemed like the whole town would gather to see what would be in that mail sack. By the way, John and Lil are the grandparents of someone you might know, Marilyn Marks. Another of my pastimes was playing cards with my girlfriends, Esther Stead, Ruth Jones, and Pat Haas's mother, Alita Reed. Francis and Louis Sasso ran the popular local watering hole. They served meals to their guests, and I taught Francis how to bake the delicious pies that I served at the boarding house. One of their specialties was oyster stew that was served the day before Thanksgiving. And after the Christmas service at St. Teresa's, all the churchgoers filed down the hill for free Tom and Jerry's. Every other Sunday, the Catholics had to purchase their own drinks. My son, Ed, was a frequent visitor to Sasso's, and he occasionally took little Sally along with him. Louis had a little mug that he kept behind the bar, just for her. I hate to think what he poured into that glass. After Louis died, his son Mike helped Francis manage the business. When they came upon hard times, we helped them out financially because that's just what good neighbors do. Sometimes the stress of running the boarding house, feeding prisoners and tramps, and caring for my family and neighbors was just too much. Then I'd send little Sally to the drugstore to pick up a bottle of Lydia Pinkham, available as a liquid elixir or as pills. I see I've about run out of time, so I'd like to leave you with a bit of wisdom I've learned over the years. My granddaughter Sally claims that she heard me repeat these gems many times over the years, and I hope that they inspire you as well. If you keep the light in the room dim enough, the guests won't see the dust. God gave everyone a brain. Some just didn't get as much as others.